Call to order and recording of members present and absent.
Hanson, Kane,
Yes.
McDermott,
Aye.
Parker,
Yes.
Slater. Here.
Open meeting compliance statement read.
I, the undersigned clerk of the Board of Education of the Alva Independent School District, number 1 of Woods County, Oklahoma, certify that prior to December the 15th of the last calendar year, the date, time, and place of this regular meeting was filed in the office of the county clerk of Woods County, Oklahoma. I also certify that at least 24 hours prior to this meeting, excluding Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays, notice of the date, time, and place, and the agenda of this meeting was posted in prominent public view at the location of the meeting.
Addition of items of new business to the agenda. Wait a minute, I better read the consent agenda first. All of the following items, which concern reports and items of a routine nature, normally approved by one board vote. Unless any board member desires to have a separate vote on any or all of these items, the consent agenda consists of the discussion, consideration, and approval of the following items. Addition of items of new business to the agenda.
There are none.
Minutes of the October 7th, 2019 regular board meeting. Approval of financial report, approval of the activity fund report, approval of the activity fund fundraisers, approval of activity fund inter-account transfers, approval of the child nutrition report, and declare the following items as surplus.
Okay, we'll go back up to 3.2, the minutes for the October 7th board meeting. I did not see any errors on that. We'll look at 3.3, our finance report. If you'll notice on the attachment, you can see that we've got two areas actually that are above what they were in comparison to last October, but the biggest I want to draw your attention to is our gross production collection. And you can see in comparison from FY19 to FY20, we are $320,000 below what we collected last year. So that's kind of one of those things that we continue to monitor, and working with the administrators. We're just trying to be really mindful of our expenses when we're doing purchase orders, and mindful of the things that we're buying at this point in time, taking care of the supplies that we do have, whether it's vehicles, transportation, and buses. If you'll look on down there on that attachment, maybe the next page, kind of done a comparison FY 2019 and 18, just to look at our revenue and expenses, and kind of hard to decipher that up on this, up on the overhead. But I guess what I want to really draw your attention to is that we are obviously our expenses, we're spending more than we're bringing in. It's a pretty normal trend each year, and we'll start to see that ad valorem collection over the next few months. So not anything necessarily to be concerned about, but we do want to really take a look at this when we start collecting the ad valorem and see where we're at. Again, I will tell you that our expenses have outweighed our expenses in comparison to the last few years. And so working with our administrators, we've got to be mindful of purchase orders that we're signing and supplies that we are getting for our teachers. Any questions about the finance report? Okay, 3.4, the activity fund report, just a couple of accounts to draw your attention to. 921, the high school vocal account. You'll begin to see some money come into that account and be receipted for their pumpkin roll fundraiser. 914, the FFA is finishing up blue and gold sausage, so they paid an invoice to Blue and Gold for that, so you can see that there's some money that has been taken from that account. And then 973, increase in this account, I believe this is Washington Elementary's account for the color run. And what we'll do here in a month or two is we'll go back and we will do an inter-account transfer, and we're going to divide that among all three elementaries. Thank them for the work they did. Turned out to be a good event and a good fundraiser for our elementaries. We have no activity fundraisers, 3.5 at this time. 3.6, we have no inter-account transfers. 3.7 is the child nutrition revenue budget that I've attached. Just give you some numbers from Verlita today. She completed her low-income report, and that's how we're funded. Right now, Alva Public Schools is 51% free and reduced. If you look at, I guess it would be lines 4710 and 4720 are federal lunches and federal breakfasts. These are our reimbursements, and so we will see in the coming months those numbers go up. But you can see even on our federal reimbursements, we've looked at our collections and there's been a drop in that. You can see from our estimate of needs and from our projected revenue, there will be a projected drop from our federal reimbursements also. We are currently serving about 248 more lunches than we served last year in comparison, and about 52 more breakfasts. Any questions about our child nutrition report? And then finally, 3.8, we do not have any items for surplus.
I make a motion, we approve consent agenda items 3.1, 3.8.
Second. Parker,
Yes.
McDermott,
Aye.
Kane,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Slater. Yes.
Vote to approve purchase order encumbrances for the following funds for fiscal year 20. 4.1 general fund as referenced. 4.2 building fund as referenced. 4.3 child nutrition fund as referenced. And 4.4 gift fund number 81 as referenced.
Okay, so 4.1, general fund, just go through a couple of these purchase orders. Purchase order number 432, 2,400 with Panhandle Turf Care. That's some repair to the indoor turf at the facility. 438, Western Equipment, repair to the skid steer. Had some problems with it moving mulch at Lincoln, and so we took it in to get it serviced and get it ready for any possible snow removal for the winter. 443, Peak Environment, that's the spraying of all sites throughout the district for our fall. 447, want to point out Behavior Doctor Seminar. This has been for $2,000. This has been an important part of our strategic plan, and you'll hear that in a few minutes. Just want to point this out, Dr. Riffle, the behavior guru, I guess you could say, came and spent a day with faculty and staff and toured our sites, and very impressed with what our teachers have done. This has been a good investment that's been made by our district and by this board, and so we thank you for that. Purchase order number 455, 7,500. That's repairs throughout the district with Northwest Electric. 457, 2,717, Index of Oklahoma. That is our annual fire alarm inspection throughout the district. And then finally 473, 6,162, Grey Dog Mechanical. This is for a new HVAC unit at Longfellow. One of the things you're going to be seeing over the next probably a few board meetings is repairs to heaters and purchasing. Want to thank the principals. We've gone through not only through the strategic plan with our assessment tool, but also we've kind of done an audit of all of our heat and air units, years, models, makes. We've got to figure out a plan for replacement, repair, and so our principals have done a good job of getting that information on a document, and they're going to be meeting with committees to look at some kind of facility improvement, capital improvement plan, with an eye towards those mechanical improvements that we have at each site. 4.2, building fund. Just one purchase order there, purchase order number 2 with Triarch, $140,000. That is for our architectural services. Later on, we'll be looking at a contract with Triarch and Scott Bruman. This is, in essence, an open purchase order. This could vary and change depending on the projects that we choose to take on. 4.3, our child nutrition fund. Just 2 purchase orders there with Northwest Electric for $2,000. And then number 22, Oklahoma Restaurant Supply for a freezer at the high school for $2,800. And then we have nothing in our gift fund. Any questions from our general building fund or child nutrition? not, I would recommend their approval.
I make a motion that we accept 4.2 and 4.3 as presented.
Second.
Slater? Yes. Parker?
Yes.
McDermott?
Aye.
Kane?
Yes.
Hanson?
Yes.
Superintendent's report.
Okay, we will begin tonight. We'll move down to our strategic plan, and we have Megan McMurphy to share with us culture and community.
Yes, and I'm going to read this letter to you from Kimmy Percival. As I stated earlier, she is unable to be here for she's down in her back and hips and not able to be very mobile. But she did want to express that she sends her sincere apologies for not being able to make it to the meeting this evening. With that being said, I would like to send a note of thanks for your commitment to our community. Based on the most recent implementation stemming from the strategic planning timeline, numerous positive changes are already in effect, and numerous more are on the horizon. With 3 school-aged children in 3 different schools in the district, it is simple to see how the communication plan has already integrated by leaps and bounds throughout the district. I have been able to attend informative meetings given at both the high school and middle school, as well as the Title I meeting. These meetings explain progressed, modernized learning as students move to the next level of their education. Thank you so much for the time you've already taken and for your continued investment in this community, and I look forward to working alongside each of you in the coming years with strong commitment to the future of our children. So she was very upset and very worried about not being able to be here. So but last week she and I and Mrs. Tucker and Mrs. Williams met to talk about kind of where we are, and that's kind of what you see here are the big things there, what we've implemented during this quarter, and then kind of question 2, the see above, what we successfully implemented. So one of the biggest things was communication. That was a big thing on the survey from the parents about how do we best communicate to our parents what's going on in one way. And so when the elementary principals all sent out a communication survey for parents to fill out, and what we determined was that most parents liked the text messaging best. And, you know, we kind of talked about maybe that was so that they could go back and look at it. It was right there on their phone, clear, concise. So that was what came about for that. Another big thing in the community and culture is the list of committees that parents were involved in. We noticed in our surveys that parents wanted to be involved, and so the principals compiled a list of what committees already had parents serving, and then what committees needed to add parents. And so you'll see that the Gifted and Talented Committee added some additional representatives with parents and a teacher from each site. So that is something that has developed, adding additional parents. The Discipline Committee was formed and had their first meeting actually last week, and that consisted of our administration from the building, our building sponsor, parents, and so they all got together to look at the data to see when we were seeing the most amount of discipline problems, were there certain days, certain times, certain trends, so that we can positively address those. So that was done. And then, as Mr. Argo stated, the district-wide behavior plan with Dr. Riffle, we feel like we're ahead of the game on that because we did start implementing it prior to the strategic plan. So in the elementary sites, we do feel that we have gone further than maybe what the plan is asking us to do at this point. The only area where there's been not as much growth is the high school, but that is due to the fact that they were not in the program with us last January. And then when we went to book Dr. Riffle, our professional development days were already booked, so the high school didn't have as much leeway to get her in before school started. They looked at actually bringing her in in the year, and it just wasn't feasible trying to find 16 subs because she needs them for 2 consecutive days. So that is slated to get them going with her as soon as we have those days available. We do now have a big thing in the strategic plan, if those of you that were involved remember, was documenting discipline. And where was it going to be documented so that it was all uniform, and that has now been done. So our principals are documenting discipline in WinGauge, which is our student information system, but then they're also documenting it in Swiss, which is what sends the information to Dr. Riffle so that she can then kind of give us those reports of when our biggest problems are happening or things like that. So that is now done, and they developed a common language for the discipline so that what one principal is putting in means the same thing as the other ones. So that is done. Clubs and organizations, they have compiled a list of current clubs and organizations throughout each site. Obviously with the elementary, we just don't have the clubs that maybe the middle school and high school do, but that's something that we are looking at. So now we have kind of a working list that we can use to continue that. The district recognition committee, this was part of that parent recognition program and how we were going to recognize not only parents but retirees and things like that. They have now umbrellaed that under our district professional development committee. So they will be kind of taking on researching what is the best way to go about developing some type of parent recognition program. And then the district leadership committee. You'll see there it says that this is, they're currently developing this committee. This was where we wanted to have one type of unified leadership program throughout the district. We offer character and counseling classes that focus a lot on leadership and character in the elementary school, but it's not offered district-wide. So this is something that they're looking at, something that we can offer. And we did have Retro Bill come in and speak with the Kids and Cops, and he focused a lot on character building and character education and being a strong leader, and he spoke to all of the sites. So we've had a few things like that that have happened, but that committee is still in development. And then the communication plan developed to appoint public relations, so each site has a person who is keeping up with the social media, newspaper, app, websites, things like that, instead of it being a position appointed just to one person throughout the district. So if you turn on the back side of there, it's asking about if there was anything not successfully implemented, and elementary's, middle school, no, and then like I said, the only thing that they've had is the high school not being able to fully do the PBIS, but not to their fault because of the fact that our days were already planned and she couldn't get the 2 full days with staff that we needed. Roadblocks, always, right? And this is always going to be a roadblock, but finding common times. That's hard to meet, when you're trying to develop these committees and do those things. It is hard to get, especially when you're asking parents and teachers that have a classroom or obligations or businesses to run. So that is the most consistent roadblock. And then again, the high school being able to find the professional development days to get the PBIS training done. So, any questions?
Thank Mrs. Purcell for her help. And since you're here, I do have a question for you.
All right.
What has been the most rewarding part of this whole opportunity? I don't know if you call it an opportunity. When you were asked to, we're going to make it an opportunity.
That's right. I think, and I said this going through the planning, I think just collaborating. I think we get tunnel vision in our roles, and I'll be the first one to say, no one understands what I'm going through. No one understands what I'm doing, and they don't get it. And then you come together with the people in your community, and not only do they get it, but there were several times in the planning part where I was like, ouch, I need to open my eyes to someone else's perspective other than just mine. So, I loved being able to hear and meet, and I said to Mrs. Tucker, we need to do this every month. We need
Right.
to get people together, our community members, our parents, our teachers, because this is important. I mean, so that we do hear what others are thinking and seeing
And their
and
perception
yes,
of what
and
we're
their
doing.
perception.
Exactly,
Yes, and like I said, because I think oftentimes we see things only from our sight and don't often think about what others are seeing. So, yes, I think there's always going to be growing pains with
Sure,
it, but
sure.
I mean, I think we have a clear direction of where we're trying to go and why we're doing what we're doing. So,
Thank you. And thank you for your
Thank you.
time. I had the privilege of sitting in on this committee one time when Mrs. McDermott had to be gone, and I will tell you, it's interesting to watch our community members. And I'm going to use the word empowered, but it's almost like, wow, you really want me to tell you what I mean, it was, and all the teachers that were there went, yes, and leaned in. And I think that's one of the biggest blessings of communication, because these are our children,
Yes.
and they will
Absolutely.
always be our children. So, but it was quite encouraging. So thank you. And thank you for your time. I know it's a huge time restraint, and thank you for your cooperation and your
you bet.
leadership.
Absolutely. Anything else?
Great
You
job.
tell Mrs. Perkins we missed her.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tell her I was mean to her. She'll say what she's.
I'm pretty thick-skinned.
Are you? Okay. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Anything else on your report?
Just might mention that our calendar committee has been meeting, met, a couple weeks ago, and had a good group to come together, and so we're going to meet this Wednesday. We've got a representative from each site, and then we also have a parent representative from each site. So
Good.
we've started planning, hopefully bring a calendar to the board in December for next school year. And that's all I have.
Items of current business, 6.1. Discussion with possible board action, vote to approve the following board meeting dates for the calendar year 2020. January 6th, February 3rd, March 2nd, April 6th, May 4th, June 1st, June 25th, June 6th, August 3rd, September 8th, October 5th, November 2nd, and December the 7th. All on Mondays, except for one in June.
In June and our Labor Day,
Okay.
okay? Any questions?
Want to address that now?
Make a motion?
Sure.
I would be happy to make a motion that we accept this list of board meeting dates for calendar year 2020 as presented.
Second?
Hanson,
Yes.
Kane,
Yes.
McDermott,
Aye.
Parker,
Yes.
Slater.
Yes.
6.2, discussion with possible board action, vote to approve the Board of Education election resolution to call for a school election to vote for a Board of Education member from office number 5.
And this will be for our primary election, which will be in February, and then if there are more than 2, then there will be a general election in April. I would recommend that we approve this resolution.
I make a motion that we approve the election resolution.
Second.
Slater. Yes. Parker,
Yes.
McDermott,
Aye.
Kane,
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Discussion with possible board action, vote to approve closing the following precincts for the 2020 school board election. Precinct number, as referenced, precinct number, that's in Alva County, and precinct number in Woods County as referenced.
And this is something the board has to take action on each year. This is just for school board elections. And in the past, previous year, I believe that the board has closed these precincts. All of these voters in those precincts are sent absentee ballots.
Make a motion that we approve 6-3.
A second.
Hanson,
Yes.
Kane,
Yes.
McDermott,
Aye.
Parker,
Yes.
Slater.
Yes.
6.4, discussion with possible board action, vote to approve the interlocal agreement with Circuit Engineering District Number 8 for fiscal year 20.
So this interlocal agreement is under our county commissioners, and it allows us to use this Circuit Engineering District 8 for any surveying, engineering, or any other projects that they possibly could help us with, and I would recommend that we approve this agreement.
Is there any cost to this?
There is no cost. I believe a few years ago, we were talking about this, and I think they helped do some surveying when we were looking at parking expansion at that time.
Appreciate their help.
Yes.
I would make a motion, we accept 6.4 as presented.
Second.
Slater,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
McDermott,
Aye.
Kane,
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
6.5, discussion with possible board action, vote to approve Alva School Board Policy, EHBDB.
This is an update to our current Title I parent involvement policy. And the change to this is that we've changed federal legislation and law from No Child Left Behind to Every Student Succeeds Act. And part of what brought this to our attention is getting monitored in our federal programs by the State Department, making sure that everything is up to date and in compliance. So I would recommend approval of this policy.
So moved.
Second.
Hanson,
Yes.
Kane,
Yes.
McDermott,
Aye.
Parker,
Yes.
Slater.
Yes.
6.6, discussion with possible board action, vote to approve a contract with Tri-Arc Architecture for Phase 1 of the Alva School District's building projects.
I'll say that we have sent off this contract to our school attorney, and it has been vetted and approved by him along with the addendum to it. I might share with the board, this is the prioritization of our building projects that's been done by our committees, and so kind of a brief overview of what that would look like in our first phase is some improvement to our track and field area, resurfacing and expansion of that track, ADA accessibility. Notice where this number 11 is. In the past, when we have Kiwanis Little Olympics or any of our events, all we have is that hill that goes down for people to enter. And so we are going to add some stairs and railing from this parking lot down to the track to make it easier for our patrons. It will include new lighting, and then we are also, one of the things the committee felt like was really important was parking at the high school. And so we're kind of going to move through our parking improvement from the north side of campus across. So we're going to begin at this number 3, that parking lot. It's about, I believe, and maybe you're right, I think it's about 7 feet too short. And so you'll notice whenever there's an event there, it is difficult to maneuver through that parking lot. And so this is going to widen that parking lot and make that more accessible for our patrons. It will also then add a new sidewalk where you see number 4 along that south side of the parking lot. Number 2 there is our art room. This is going to be probably one of the neatest things we're going to do. One of the most enrolled programs that we have at Alva High School. Mr. McClure does a fantastic job with our art students. And we've got a great fine arts department throughout the high school, and so we're going to begin with this art building and a complete renovation inside and out of it. Number 1, the gymnasium. We are going to add heat and air to that gymnasium and make that an opportunity, or if so choose, a community event center. We've had some parents and students that have asked us previously. We've held graduation in there before, but it's difficult that time of year finding an opportunity to have it and be cool in there with the amount of people. So this will give us another large event space to choose from for our students. And then finally, number 6, with our indoor facility, with our middle school practicing there, and then obviously with the high school, we've seen an increased amount of traffic. Well, and even our elementary programs at the high school, an increased amount of traffic using the alleyway behind the high school. And so this project will expand it to 2-way. And so we think that will be a safety improvement and good for our patrons. Any questions with our facility improvements that we plan? I want to thank that committee. We started meeting last spring, have met 3 or 4 times, and they've done a great job of prioritizing those projects. If there are none, I would recommend that we approve the contract with Triarch for phase 1 of our building projects.
I make a motion that we do phase 1.
Second.
Approve the contract.
Approve the contract.
Second.
Slater? Yes. Parker?
Yes.
McDermott?
Aye.
Kane?
Yes.
Hanson?
Yes.
New business,
There is none.
signing of documents approved by earlier action. It's an exciting day for Alva Public Schools. We should be
Yeah,
excited.
I like that.
All those good things are